Okay, we are live.
Are we though? Hello, everyone.
Welcome back to the Schmooze.
And welcome back to the Schmooze. Are we live on Facebook?
We should be.
All right, very good. Welcome back to another episode of the Schmooze. What number are we on now?
This is episode 4.
Wow.
How's time flies?
We should have a party.
And do what? Get together on Zoom?
Maybe, or I don't know. Like, we could just make another episode. It's the best way to celebrate, I think.
That typically does work for us, Akiva.
Yes, exactly. Okay, here we go. Did I ever tell you about the time that I won the lottery?
I don't think you told me about that because I definitely would know if you won the lottery.
I actually did. Nope, this is a true story. I won the lottery. What was it, about 5 years ago? I won the lottery. I went to Safeway and I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a lottery ticket. And I bought a lottery. I went to Safeway. I bought one. I was like debating which. I had never bought a lottery ticket before. And I was debating which lottery ticket I should buy. And I bought one of those. I didn't notice now. Now I know you can buy a lottery ticket for like $3. I bought a $25 lottery ticket. And it was a $20 lottery ticket. It was one of those scratch offs. And I just did it right there. I went to the parking lot. I did it in my car. And I won $25 in the lottery.
Why would you even keep this story in your back pocket? I would never tell this story.
First of all, okay, let me ask you a question, Daniel. How many times have you won the lottery?
I don't play the lottery.
Oh, I won. You didn't. There we go.
What's your net gain at the end of that?
Well, the net gain was I went back in and I bought another lottery ticket for $20. Lost, so I made $5 that day.
Do you enjoy telling this story, or is there something that I'm missing? Or
when you don't have that many stories, you need to keep the ones you got. Welcome back to the Schmooze, everyone, where everyone's a winner except for the people who didn't win anything. I'm Akiva Naiman.
I'm Daniel Geller. Welcome back. It's so good to be Rabbi Akiva. It really is so good to see you.
Honestly, we should hang out more often. You should come to Cali.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited to have a guest on the show today that's actually in my time zone, so we can be a little bit, finally East Coast Central. That's the goal, because I know you tell people the show's at 6, but for everyone in my time zone, which is the majority of American Jewry, the time is actually 9.
Who are we having on today, Daniel?
We are blessed to welcome Dr. Noam Weissman, and we will absolutely get into him soon. But I do want to start off. Today's Veterans Day. In America, and not worldwide.
Dedicating today's episode to all the veterans of America.
Right. Thank you very much for their service. Yep. And I was reading today. When we talk about innovation and offering new opportunity, this isn't specific to the Jewish community, but someone actually created an app to assist veterans in getting jobs. After coming back from incredibly stressful situations, veterans have a difficult time finding employment. So they launched an app that offers a free service connecting employers to potential employees who are veterans and their families. And it's really just amazing how we can create these opportunities today's day and age and to service particular communities. Like one of our members of Congress down here, Congressman Brian Mast, who is a veteran himself. He was a member of JSOC, Joint Special Operations Command, and he also volunteered in the IDF, a tremendous friend of Israel and the United States.
I have to interrupt and say that sounds like a Jewish summer program because it starts with the letter J and it's a 4-letter acronym. I feel like you just made up a military branch.
It's almost as if you work in Jewish education for nonprofits. It's almost as if that's what we're talking about here. But back to Congressman Mast for a second. Hey, a tremendous friend of Israel, but he actually volunteered with the IDF in Israel. So when we talk about people, but what's the point? Right. Aside from Congressman Mast is an amazing person, he actually moved his office into the VA so he can help service and really get a bird's eye view of all the things that are happening. Wow. So I think, when we talk about how to change the game, these are things we're seeing, especially in the veteran community, a lot of veteran members of Congress these days. But Akiva, I know you wanted to mention something about that we talk about all the time when it comes to apps and offering opportunity.
Yeah. No, I didn't have anything to share. I'm just kidding. I totally did. What? I'm not sure if anyone out there has heard of Birthright Excel. It's similar to Birthright Word. I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Birthright Excel, because like Microsoft. Birthright Excel is, I had never heard of it before. Really, really cool. Everyone in the world, and if you're Jewish, you've heard of Birthright. If you haven't, you've heard about it now. Free trips to Israel for anyone ages 18 to 32, even if you've gone beforehand. Thank you, Yosef Ravinsky. Birthright Excel is this 10-week summer initiative. It's very competitive to get into, where you get trained in entrepreneurship and innovation. And that's really what we are talking about on this show, is about taking modern day challenges, especially in 2020, and innovating and using those as a platform to innovate. And a bunch of these, speaking of innovation, I had nothing to hold my phone for this, and look at that. I quickly grabbed 3 pieces of Lego, and now I have a phone holder. Who needs to go buy a phone holder? Just buy Lego. And these young adults from Birthright Excel created something called Door to Door, but like DOR, to DOR, which is, a door means generation. And they go around, they already have 1,000 volunteers delivering medical equipment and food and other necessities to seniors. And it warms my heart. It's something I'm actually trying to bring right now to the Bay Area. I was in conversations all day long about that today, actually, with a bunch of people here. It's very much needed. Always. I read this recently. Did you know that 36 Holocaust survivors in Israel die every day on average?
I did not know that. Where do you find that?
I didn't know either until I knew that. And it's sad, and it's a reality, and people don't even know that there are that many. There are only 100,000 Holocaust survivors left in the world. And it is up to us to take care of, like people are like, oh, we are the next generation. Well, not us, we're old already. But like, what about the last generations? They count a lot. And let's make sure everyone should go call their Bubby and Zadie right now. Not right now, wait for the Schmooze to be done. I'm gonna give a shout out to whoever was watching. Okay, back to you, Daniel.
No, really, really all tremendous points. On this note, I was thinking about how different, how people engage differently with generations. I'm just gonna share my screen, and I think it's a great way for us to welcome our guests. There's a new thing out there called TikTok, or I'm told it's new. And
that's not new, right?
Okay, this isn't my area. But
okay.
A middle school math teacher has found a way to integrate TikTok to engage his students. And just to give you an idea, like this is a clip that he created with his class that got over 450,000 views. Take a look. Take a listen.
We can't see it. We're just listening. We can't see it. Daniel, we can't see it. We only hear it.
Oh, fantastic. Not
fantastic, though.
Okay, so we'll post the link on our social media. I apologize that didn't work the way it was supposed to.
Try again to share it, because it's a funny clip. If it doesn't work, we'll just move forward.
Right.
I'll tell you if we can see it.
Oh, well, Akiva, maybe if you had said something.
I did. I was saying things multiple times, and this is all being recorded, so you'll see that later.
I'm looking forward to it.
We cannot see it if you're trying, so let's move on.
Okay, Ms. Hader, whatever. We'll post the link. No worries. But it's an idea that someone who has hundreds of thousands of followers on social media is using social media to engage with his students, with his audience, and to kind of bring them together. And that's very much the common theme we've been discussing today. So with that, I think we're all about segues here, and not the kind that Akiva likes, but rather the kind that I like. We're very blessed and so excited to welcome Dr. Noam Weissman, as he disagrees with, but I call a renowned educator. We're so excited. He is the Senior Vice President of OpenDor Media, and we are absolutely going to get into all the amazing things that Noam brings to the playing field, so to speak. We're also thankful that OpenDor Media is our sponsor for tonight's Schmooze, and thank you to them. And Noam, welcome to the Schmooze.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me. Awesome to be here. You're a lot of fun. You're not good at screen sharing, but you're going to work on that. And we'll talk about these media tips after the show.
You were backstage. You saw us test it out. It worked before the show. I'm not sure what happened.
The truth is, there's a difference between media and tech. But to be serious for a moment, I do want to acknowledge something that you guys said, it being Veterans Day. I want to honor my grandfather who fought in World War II. He actually fought in Normandy and D-Day. He was aboard the USS Augusta And so it's just like, it was something that I always grew up with, hearing his story. And so it's a big day. And my father is a clinical psychologist at the VA, so in Maryland. So shout out to my family, to my grandfather, who really helped do amazing things for this country, for the United States of America. And then his grandchildren, my first cousins, served in the Israeli army, and fought in a number of battles. And so to be part of a family that has a rich part in American history and played an important part in Israeli history, just this day is a meaningful day. So thank you for mentioning that earlier.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you for mentioning that as well, because honestly, I moved. It's you're obviously from a long line of people who are helping the world and doing good in the world. And I served in the Israeli army, and I know that my life is very changed because of that. Giving back to your land, or any land that you are in, then it makes a difference. It makes a big difference. Welcome, Noam. We know you just moved from the West Coast to Florida, so it's a step down, and we know that. But you started a trend, because Matt Hero followed you afterwards, and a lot of people live in California. Anyway, so tell us about OpenDor Media. You started it. Tell us, and I know it used to be called Jerusalem Online U. Well, okay, you didn't start it.
I did not start it. No, I did not start it. Definitely did not start it.
Tell us about it. Tell us about it. What do you guys do, and what are you guys doing differently? Because there's so many out there.
So don't worry about that, and a lot of names going on. So don't worry about that at all. So this was started by Rafal Shor 11 or so years ago. It's called Jerusalem U. We transitioned over from Jerusalem U to OpenDor Media. Our CEO is a woman named Dina Rabhen, and I'm the senior vice president. The two of us lead this organization, the educational vision, the philosophy, and we actually made the move to transition from the name Jerusalem U to OpenDor Media. We did that relatively recently, actually, in the last year or so. I don't remember the exact dates. And so that was a big transition for us as an organization to build on the successes of Jerusalem U, and then to take it to the next level, to take it to where it can really be going in the future.
So tell us, what are you doing now for the Jewish people? And I know it's a lot, so tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so here's what we're trying to do. Our vision is to make Jewish and Israel education and content accessible to anyone and everyone, regardless of political affiliation, religious denomination, geographic location, or socioeconomic situation. That's what we're trying to do. And we're trying to leverage
everyone.
We're trying to say, hey, listen, we live in a world of media, and we could either choose to fight that and say, put your phones away, students, or we could leverage that and say, take your phones out, because that's where you are. You're scrolling all the time. That's what you're doing all the time. And we could make great content right there for you, for the students, for young people, for whomever. And so we have a YouTube channel called Unpacked. We have a podcast called Unpacking Israeli History. We have a website for educators called Unpack for Educators. And we have a film division called Imagination Productions, and that makes all these feature-length films. So really trying to meet people wherever they are through different, portals of entry.
Wow. So I see, I'm on Instagram right now. I see this. I have a bunch of students on listening right now. Check it out, guys, on YouTube. Unpack. Daniel, over to you.
Oh, thank you, Akiva. That was rather professional of you.
I'm rather.
I want to kind of zoom into something that you were directly involved in, Noam. Some would even say that you were the mastermind behind it. Israel History Month. We're always talking about how we need to bring Israel more front and center, and OpenDor Media is definitely playing a large role in that. But your creation of this idea that we should have a month dedicated to Israel history, how did that process start? What did it take to make it happen, and what's the goal for moving forward?
Yeah, so we're in the middle of Israel History Month right now, November. We have to trade that. It is an idea that we came up with last year. And the idea is that too often the learning about Israel is resigned to a few different days. It's relegated to Yom HaAtzmaut, Independence Day, Yom Yerushalayim, Jerusalem Day, Yom HaZikaron, the Memorial Day, and then like other times of importance and current events and fighting certain things and advocacy. What we said is the month of November is a fascinating month and an opportunity in between the Yamim Noraim and Sukkot, and then Hanukkah. And in between that time, this period that's Mar Cheshvan, is let's take this month and create something that could have students from across the world coming together to learn about Israel. 5 important days. And we want to make sure that people have cultural literacy, that they know their story, that they know their history. So Balfour Declaration, November 2nd, right? Then you have Yitzhak Rabin's assassination, November 4th. Then on November 10th is Zionism equals racism, the famous UN resolution from 1975 in Durban. Then November 21st is Operation Moses. And then finally, Chavtet November, the 29th of November. It's an important month. And we looked at our content and we said, oh my gosh, we have a real opportunity to really utilize this month as a way to increase the literacy of the Jewish people across the globe. And we've been seeing just numbers skyrocket and people really utilizing this month to consider their own story, to consider their own identity. If you Google November Israel History Month or Israel History Month, this will be the first thing that shows up. And that's a way, again, to leverage media, to leverage digital media to ensure that people are doing something good with the world and learning something positive.
Wow, that's incredible. It's almost as if you're an educator.
I try. So that is my background. So I try. But like, you can be an educator in a lot of different ways. That's the truth. You could be in the classroom. You could be on a screen. You could be doing what you guys do with so many students and all different types of students, youth groups, trip providers, etc. So yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
What do you guys want to know? What do you guys want to know about?
I'm about here. Here we go. So we're here with Noam Weissman from OpenDor Media. For all my students on Instagram and Facebook, well, no one's on Facebook, but I see on Instagram, you can text a question, comment with a question if you'd like. An Israel expert here on the call. So we talked about how the average family can interact with like all the dozens, hundreds, maybe. I don't know how many films and stuff do you guys have out there? Dozens or hundreds?
We have around over 100 videos out there, and we produce at least one piece of content a week, often one or two pieces of content a week. And we started our Unpack channel a little bit under 2 years ago, or around 2 years ago.
I'm just going to encourage everyone watching this, like, go check it out on YouTube. I mean, when I'm making classes, it's the first place I go to. The first place I go to is the YouTube channel. There's 6-minute videos, 3-minute videos, 5-part series. It's amazing. I have a question for you, okay? Yeah. Here's the question. You just got a $10 million grant.
Yeah, I did.
What? Oh, actually?
I did not.
Okay.
No,
it just happened. One of our viewers just wrote in, yes. Okay, what's the $10 million? What's the dream? You're leveraging, and I hear that word a lot from you, and it's incredible that you're working with technology, you're innovating with the flow of the world. What's the big dream? What's the ultimate vision for OpenDor Media?
The ultimate vision, I would say, for OpenDor Media is to make sure that we get our content out there in a way that shapes worldviews. So what that means is that, and one of the things that my colleague Dina Rabban likes to say is that if we disappeared, it would really matter. Now, what that means is that, there are a lot of great nonprofits out there doing amazing work, but if they disappeared, for a lot of people, it would be like, okay, it's too bad, right? But what we really want to be saying is 10 years from now, we want to be the most recognized place to go to for all Jewish education and Jewish content, right? So right now, one could argue that's already the case, but we want to be, and we don't try to use the language all the time, but try to be almost like the PBS of Jewish education, of Jewish media. So that means being on all different platforms, whatever those platforms are. It could be TikTok, it could be Instagram, YouTube, whatever the new platforms are, and shaping worldview through our content and actually making a difference in that way. And I think if we are able to,
as a consumer and as an educator, I think you guys are definitely on track. Like, you are the number one resource that I will think of, and I know for many of my colleagues as well. Like, that's just where you go.
Right, and I'm thrilled to hear that. It's humbling to hear that. I think that a lot of it, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but it has to do with our philosophy of our content, of why it works.
Tell us why.
Well, this is my take of why it works, because you guys represent Orthodox Judaism, and we work with organizations, right? Orthodox Judaism.
I don't know if we're the main representatives. Like, if you ask World Jewry, who are the main guys? They'd be like, Daniel and Akiva.
Yeah, there it is. Daniel and Akiva. It comes down to the two of you.
Yeah.
So what we're able to do is we're able to reach all different types of Jews, and the way we do that is by being respectful of different types of opinions and coming with a framework. We're not like some softies that don't have a framework. We have a framework. The framework is Jewish identity is important. Zionist identity is important. Connection to Israel is important. But within that, there are wide contours of dispute. And allowing people to have that wide contour of dispute and makes people feel respected, I think. And they say, okay, you're not trying to pull one over me. You're not trying to indoctrinate me about something. You're trying to provide information, to ask important questions, and then to allow me, the viewer, to respect me as the viewer, to have my own opinion on the matter.
Right.
And the truth is, and I just want to, I think we'd be remiss without mentioning him, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, and it pains me to say that that acronym at the end there.
Yeah.
He was one of the leaders, one of the people way ahead of his time to say, I'm an educator, and I'm not just going to educate by going into Batei Knesset, into shuls and giving a speech. That's a form of media, and a book is a form of media, but I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to make a video about anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, and not just 75 people are going to be in a room or 200 people are going to be influenced, but hundreds of thousands, right? Hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to do both with Israel and with Jewish, and to tell a story in a way that people connect to and really respect.
Right. It's really amazing. And when Akiva and I, when we discuss OpenDor Media and we talk about all that you guys have to offer, we're so comforted knowing of the philosophy that you hold and that we can trust the information. You know, so many of your competitors, so to speak. I mean, I know we're all in the education game here, but there's this concept that we're taking a stance and we're not gonna get into hot topics. And on that note, Noam, what you actually brought up when we talk about bringing up things that are a little bit more controversial, they're not cut and dry, not necessarily subscribing to a manner. I want to kind of shift gears to your podcast, to the Unpacked podcast. A couple of episodes ago, I am a listener. A couple of episodes ago, you brought up one of the bigger hot topics in Israeli history, which you know it's a hot topic because it's not mentioned in typical pro-Israel education materials, and that is the topic of Der Yassin. And I'll let you get into that in a second, but I wanna kind of understand your philosophy when you get into something that might not be the most flattering topic when it comes to Israel or Zionism or the Jewish community. How do you go about presenting that, and what are the critical components that you think are important to give over, especially in a limited time frame like on a podcast?
Yeah, so the podcast, thanks Daniel for asking that question. I think it's a really important question to get into. I had a great Jewish upbringing, raised in a religious Zionist home, went to Jewish high school, went to yeshiva for a number of years, went to yeshiva university, and I didn't know anything about Der Yassin. And then I'm an adult, I'm an educator, I'm in these contexts, and I wasn't Israel is part of what I do, but Jewish thought and Jewish content in general, Gemara education, Tanakh education, right? It's the same thing. Good education, good Israel education is good Jewish education. Good Jewish education is good education. Therefore, good Israel education is good education. It's pretty simple, right? And Der Yassin is an example of a moment in Israeli history that shows a black eye or a blemish on our skin, on the story of the Jewish people. Now, you could look at that and say, how dare you say such a thing? How dare you say such a thing?
Right.
How could you even make that argument? Israel's never done anything wrong. And let me explain to you why Der Yassin was not a problem in Israeli history. The problem with taking that approach, because Der Yassin can be spoken about. People can speak about Der Yassin and Sabra Shatila, Kfar Qasim, Kibbeh, and other events in Israeli history. Some of those might be foreign to you. Some of those might be familiar with you. To you, sorry. But the point is not what happened on those days. The question and the philosophy that we try to bring to the table is, how do we integrate challenging moments in our history into our own identity? Is our way of being to be the type of people that say, to be defensive, to poo-poo? Is that going to be our DNA? Is that going to be our modus operandi? Is that really going to be the way we behave? Is that what good education looks like? Or do we integrate it into the story of the Jewish people by what I call sandwiching nuance with love and sandwiching love with nuance, to have goosebumps with complexity, to allowing your students to asking your students really to end more of their sentences with question marks than with exclamation points. And if you're able to do that sort of thing, then you're bringing them into the conversation. And I think that the story of Israel, the story of the Jewish people, is meaningful enough and motivational enough and inspirational enough and insightful enough to withstand the challenging moments. And the true way to arrive at self-love or self-connection is to be okay with and to allow oneself to really integrate and the stories of yourself that are not perfect, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then you could arrive at a real relationship, at a mature relationship with Israel, as opposed to a mythical relationship with Israel.
Oh, I love it. It happens to me. I am going to encourage all of our viewers, all three of you at home, and we're related to all of you, that you should really go check out the Unpacked podcast. It's available on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. It really is worth, if you just want a glimpse into Israel history. Dr. Weissman here just does it masterfully. And I really encourage everyone. I'm posting a link currently, so you can find it easily. And please go see for yourself. It's really an amazing opportunity, especially to discover. I think nuance is something that's missing very much in not just in classrooms, in civil discourse. I was telling Rabbi Akiva just the other day. I did a post about like everything's going to be fine. You know, elections are very much about absolutes. If this person gets in, it could be congressional, Senate, president, it doesn't matter. And so like everything's going to be fine. You know, we have a bright future to look forward to. The phone calls I got of like this concept, like God forbid we should think we have a bright future regardless of who's in office. You know, like the phone call just like shame on you. You know, and I think the nuance is important. That's something we're missing, and I think it's relevant and prevalent in all of OpenDor Media. So I'll just push all of our viewers to go take a look for themselves. It's definitely
100%. And thank you again to OpenDor Media for the sponsorship. Dr. Weissman, thank you for joining us today. And again, I think everything you said was inspiring. But if there's one takeaway, end your sentences with question marks. I love that. I love it. End your sentences with question marks. Let's keep asking. To quote Rabbi Sachs in a video I watched this week, which were many from Rabbi Sachs, let's keep talking. Let's keep asking. And let's build a real relationship with Israel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Weissman. So good to see you.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for having me. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon again.
All right.
Okay. Looking forward.
Very good. Continuing on, that was incredible. That was just amazing.
It's just, again, renowned. It's funny how he said he's not renowned on Facebook, but I promise Dr. Weissman is a renowned educator, and we're so grateful to have him in the Florida community now. We're waiting for Rabbi Akiva to join and complete this.
It almost happened on several occasions. I don't think it's happening. Never say never. Never say never. Last week we asked the following question, the question was: if you by accident got too much change at the supermarket, we all want change, right? Don't we all want change in this country? So we got too much change at the supermarket. And you're already home and you're an hour away. Do you have to drive back and return the money? And the answer is you should, yeah, because it is not your money. So especially if it is a Jewish-owned supermarket, you really have a mitzvah, doraita, a Torah-bound mitzvah to return, I believe it's, yes, to return that money. Even if it is a non-Jewish owned supermarket, regardless, you should definitely be returning the money. It is not your money, and it would definitely be the right thing to do. To return that money. Here is the question. This one is definitely a much more Jewish question, not ethical as well, but much more Jewish in nature. Anyone who gets the answer right, you can DM us on Instagram, on Facebook, or comment on YouTube, whatever you like, however you like to communicate with us. Dana, what's our email again? What's our email?
info@schmoozewithus.com.
info@schmoozewithus.com. Also,
But we won't tell you how to spell schmooze, so that's really up to you.
SCH. Also, if you're interested in sponsoring. But if you get the answer to this right, $5 gift card. So here is the question. Question is, it's winter now, and Shabbat comes in at like 5 o'clock or earlier, depending on where you are. And this has happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to some of our listeners on several occasions. And you're driving, and it's like, for some reason, you didn't plan ahead, and it's about to be Shabbat. I've had this where I was also out of gas and was about to be Shabbat. So I couldn't even stop for gas. It was crazy. It was crazy. It all worked out.
You're normally known for your planning.
Right, but in this, anyways. So maybe because the lottery ticket that I won, put this. If you're listening earlier, I won the lottery recently. And what do? Okay, Shabbat comes in at 4:40. It's 3:39, and you're on the side of and you're on the highway. What are you supposed to do? Okay, we're looking forward to your answers, and we'll hear your answers next week.
We're looking forward. Wow, Rabbi Akiva, that's some good stuff. That's some good learning right there.
It should drive you crazy. Do you see what I did there?
Yeah,
it was really good. It was really good.
The puns are less effective if you have to explain them. Just putting it out there.
All right.
With that, before this goes off the rails, thank you so much for joining us on this week of the Schmooze. It's been great schmoozing with you, Rabbi Akiva. Always a pleasure to see you, even on a completely different time zone. But it's good to have you. Looking forward to the time when we can do this again in person, and we will schmooze with you next week.
See you next week, 6 p.m.
9 p.m.
6 p.m.
Okay, different time.